Weekdays at noon Central on AFR.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
For American Family News, I'm Chris Woodward. War Secretary Pete Hegseth held a briefing today to update Americans on the war in Iran. While the Islamic regime is still fighting back, Hegseth said the U.S. and Israel have been very successful, and President Trump knows what he's doing.
The media here, not all of it, but much of it, wants you to think, just 19 days into this conflict, that we're somehow spinning toward an endless abyss, or a forever war, or a quagmire. Nothing could be further from the truth. Hear it from me, one of hundreds of thousands who fought in Iraq and Afghanistan, who watched previous foolish politicians like Bush, Obama, and Biden squander American credibility. This is not those wars. President Trump knows better. Epic Fury is different. It's laser focused. It's decisive. Our objectives, given directly from our America First president, remain exactly what they were on day one.
Meanwhile, there are more concerns this morning about the price of energy. That's because Israel has attacked an Iranian energy compound, and President Trump says the U.S. was not aware of the plans. Meanwhile, several European nations are not wanting to protect the Strait of Hormuz at Trump's request. Still, Hegseth said Europe should be grateful.
A regime like that, refusing to abandon its nuclear ambitions, is not just a regional problem. It's a direct threat to America, to freedom, and to civilization. The world, the Middle East, our ungrateful allies in Europe, even segments of our own press should be saying one thing to President Trump. Thank you. Thank you for the courage to stop this terror state from holding the world hostage with missiles while building or attempting to build a nuclear bomb. Thank you for doing the work of the free world.
For more on Operation Epic Fury, visit afn.net. An American college student has gone missing on a trip to Barcelona. Here's Fox's Chanley Painter.
Police are suspecting foul play in James Gracie's disappearance Tuesday in Spain. The 20-year-old's father is now in the country working with the authorities. A family spokesperson also confirming that police do have James's cell phone, which the family says was found when police happened to arrest the guy who actually stole it, though a law enforcement source in Barcelona declined to discuss the suspect arrested in possession of James's phone, but confirmed to Fox News Digital that investigators are now looking through its recent location history in an attempt to find James.
Corpus Christi, Texas leaders have unveiled new projections suggesting the city could be just 2 months away from triggering emergency water measures. Corpus Christi Water outlined 5 scenarios, 2 of which would push the city into a level 1 alert emergency in May. Complicating the outlook are bleak seasonal forecasts, which show little to no rainfall expected between July and September. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has criticized the city leaders for their handling of the crisis. New data is showing the benefits of treating cholesterol problems earlier on. Here's Fox's Lisa Brady.
New medical guidance advises millions of Americans to be proactive about their cholesterol health. The American Heart Association, American College of Cardiology, and other medical organizations recently publishing a report with guidelines focused on controlling blood lipid levels, including cholesterol and triglycerides. The guidelines recommend people with high cholesterol or family history of heart disease start treating it as early as age 30. The data shows that reducing LDL cholesterol levels from a younger age has positive cardiovascular outcomes. Statins, along with healthy diet and exercise, are recommended treatments.
That's all our time for now. Find more news on afn.net. It's not just what you hear on the radio at the top of every hour. Visit afn.net for videos, columns, even a political cartoon. It's all there on afn.net. Thanks for listening.
If we lose this cultural war, we're going to have a hedonistic, humanistic society.
Discover the story of the culture warrior Don Wildmon and how he went head-to-head with Hollywood, Playboy, the homosexual agenda, and the Disney empire. The movement Don started paved the way for Christians to boldly stand for truth and righteousness in a hostile culture. Watch Culture Warrior today for free. Visit culturewarrior.movie.
Welcome to Today's Issues, offering a Christian response to the issues of the day. Here's your host, Tim Wildmon, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Today's Thursday, March the 19th, 2026. I'm Tim Wildman, as the announcer just told you, and joining me in studio is Ed Battagliano. Good morning, Brother Ed.
Good morning, Tim.
And Fred Jackson.
Hi there, Tim.
And Chris Woodward.
Good morning.
So Dr. Alex McFarland.
Long lost.
The Bible Answer Man.
Yeah.
Although there was a show, a radio show, I think, called The Bible Answer Man. But
yeah, it was Hank Hanegraaff, wasn't it?
Yep.
Was
it
that
a radio show or something? Or?
That's still around?
Not sure.
We don't air it on AFR, but
I don't think so.
We've got our own Bible Answer Man.
We do. Bible Answer Men.
Yeah. Men.
Brent.
Yeah.
Brent. Brent Creeley.
Brent Creeley.
Bert
Creeley, our
Harper.
producer.
And Alex.
You're going to throw an eschatology question over at Brent Creeley, our producer?
I can, just to see him panic.
Well, I think we all panic when thrown an eschatology question.
That's right.
For the most part.
Because it doesn't matter whether you have an answer.
Right.
If you do answer, you're going to make somebody mad.
That's right. All right, so Dr. Alex McFarland will be on with us. He's co-host of Exploring the Word. That's why I called him Answer Man. Bible Answer Man. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, Alex will be with us, as he is ever so often. You got the same old announcement
I
you've
have
been
a
giving
commercial.
for last week?
I didn't give it yesterday.
Did you not?
Yeah. Well, you remember yesterday on the show, we started off with about a 5 or 7 minute bender or whatever you want to call it. We were just joking around for the first, so I didn't want to.
Right, which we don't like to do much.
Well, we
here.
don't. And so I do have a commercial, folks, for you.
Well, we're not selling anything.
We're not selling anything. Hey, we're selling you. We are selling your testimonies. No, we're not selling anything. We have Spring Share-a-thon coming up April 7, 8, and 9. And what we're doing in advance of that is gathering listener stories to play during our Spring Share-a-thon. We'd like to hear from you. And here's the question we're asking. Has the Lord used American Family Radio in your life to bless you, bless others through the programming that you know of? And we would like, if you are wanting to do this, share your story. And here's how you do that. You call this number with your listener testimony, 877-876-8893. Call that number. I'll give it again in a second. Call and share for a minute or two. Keep it short and sweet. And you might hear yourself during Share-a-thon. It could be a blessing and encouragement to others. As I always mention, it is a blessing and encouragement to those of us who work at American Family Radio to hear how God is using this ministry to bless people. So the number to call, you won't get a person answering. It'll be like the old-fashioned answering machines. You'll be given some prompts and some instructions, and then I guess you hear the beep, and then you share. The number to call again is 877-876-8893. And we pick some of those out to play during Share-a-thon and on programming like today's issues.
What is it? 877 what?
877-876-8893.
I'm going to call it and see what happens here.
You're going to call it and see what happens?
Here.
I want my money and I want it now.
We'll see if it's what kind of prompt it gives you here.
Okay, you want me to continue, or are you going to put it on your on the speaker?
American Family Radio.
Here we go.
In your life. We'll be sharing many of these stories on the air during our upcoming Share-a-thon.
Yeah.
Please include your first name
Okay.
and the city and state you're calling from.
All right.
At the tone, please take a moment to share your story. Thank you.
Okay.
There it is.
Okay, hold on. Hello, this is Tim Wildman. American Family Radio has blessed me with a job
a platform for your sometimes wacky ideas.
And many wonderful coworkers. Not all, but many wonderful coworkers. Thank you. So I left my testimony. Is that good enough?
Yeah, no, that's good. So
somebody's
gonna get that. Did you hang up?
I hung up. Yeah.
Okay. Someone in the ministry is gonna get that and probably gonna wonder, is that really him or is that AI?
That was under a minute though. I think they might use that.
Yeah.
All right. So there you go. So what we use those little short testimonies during our share-a-thon, and they're always a blessing to hear.
Sometimes we hear stories about how people get saved listening to American Family Radio, and I can't tell you folks how much that charges our batteries.
Amen.
If you know what I mean. So,
amen. All right, you're listening to today's issues. Where's Ray? Ray quit. Brent Creeley, our producer. You talked to Ray. Where's Ray Pritchard been?
I don't know exactly where he is, but he's off preaching the Bible.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what he says.
Well,
that's what I always say. Ray, you off preaching?
Right,
you doing your little Bible preaching thing?
Right. What are those casino noises we're hearing in the background? No,
is that
I'm
the
kidding.
Sound of seagulls?
Yeah.
Where are you?
Brother Ray is
he's a great Bible
he's a great Bible teacher. Keep Believing Ministries, and he travels the country to go to conferences and he speaks on books of the Bible. I mean, this guy.
And spring and summer is busy for him. Because that's when a lot of churches and stuff are having conferences. And
also, he and Marlene are moving back from Florida to Kansas City now that the winter's over.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But they're going to still have part of the year in Florida, right?
They go back when it gets cold in Kansas City. Starts getting cold. They don't even wait anymore.
So what are they doing with their place now while they're going to be in Kansas City? I'm just asking for a friend.
I don't get into their personal lives, Ed. No, what are you asking?
I said, what are they doing with their place when they're moving back to Kansas City, their Florida place? I was just asking for a friend.
I think they verbo it. I'm not sure.
Oh,
I'm not sure. No, I think they live on the grounds of a ministry down there called Word of Life.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they rent it out or what. I don't know. I don't know what Ray's credit rating is. It could be in the tank.
I have an idea.
But I you know, there's certain personal things you don't ask people.
You don't. And really, you shouldn't mention on air.
Right. And we're not going to.
We would.
Except for this little moment right here.
I have an idea.
What?
We could check out a van and drive down there when Ray and his wife are not at the Florida residence, and we could do a live show from there.
Yeah.
From his place?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then when he comes on, hey.
So Chris thinks we're in spring break here. We're all.
See, this is what we did yesterday.
Yeah.
We got rolling.
Well, we were trying to avoid talking about the news because it's not all happy.
No.
But go ahead, Chris. Get us started.
All right. So Joe Kent, the guy that resigned recently as director of the National Counterterrorism Center, saying things like Iran posed no threat. He's now doing the media circuit with people that take issue with Israel.
Excuse me for interrupting. Just so people are clear, he worked for the administration.
He did.
Up until 2 days ago.
Yes.
Okay. What department did he work in?
He worked for the director. He worked for the National Counterterrorism Center as director. So he would have fallen under D&I Gabbard, Tulsi Gabbard.
That's a big deal.
Yes.
So he resigned. It was kind of a shocker. Because why did he resign?
Well, he resigned. He said on X, "I cannot in good conscience support the ongoing war in Iran. Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation, and it is clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby." So people that want to bring him on their show or podcast, including Tucker Carlson and other anti-Israel types, they now want to have a moment where they sit and talk with Joe Kent, and I have some audio of Joe if you want to play that.
First of all, let me just say this. He did the right thing by resigning. I will give him credit for that, because if you can't execute, if you have a, if you have a difference of opinion that's substantial, and you're in the position he's in, you don't need to be in that position, because your job is to support whatever the president position is, and even if it goes against your own personal opinion. But if something like that is so conflicting to him, he did the right thing by resigning. I don't agree with what he said there, the substance of what he said, but I do agree with that he should have resigned. Fred, what do you know about this?
Oh, absolutely. And what's coming out right now about Joe Kent, he went and did a podcast with Tucker Carlson. And we have talked about this
within
before.
a day of resignation.
Within a day of resignation. And from what I've read, they're two peas in a pod when it comes to the allegation that President Trump was drawn into this war in Iran by Israel. They believe that Israel has too much influence in Washington and President Trump shouldn't be listening to them. That's kind of the basics of where they are. There's a story out there this morning that this is all part of at least we're becoming more aware that amongst people who would describe themselves as politically conservative, there is a growing problem of anti-Semitism. So that's where the story is. Now, the story that's out there this morning is that the FBI is now investigating Joe Kent. And the allegation there is that he's been leaking information.
Even while he was in his position.
In his position. That's the allegation.
That's a pretty serious allegation. That's almost falls into the category of treason.
Mm-hmm.
If that were to be true.
Yes.
Of course, he's denying this. It also, this depends on which team you're on, so to speak. When you bring up something like this, you could go the direction of saying, well, he's being persecuted by the administration because he went public with his disagreement on the war. So they're using lawfare against him. That's what some people would say.
Listen, there's so many undercurrents in all this.
Yeah.
I personally don't think there's anything. I don't think it's anti-Semitic to. Now, I'm not in Tucker Carlson's camp or anything like that. I don't think it's anti-Semitic. What? No. Yeah, if you can imitate his voice like we had in Steve's segment yesterday, I don't think it's anti-Semitic to say Israel shouldn't have attacked Iran and we shouldn't have gone to war beside them. I don't even think it's anti-Semitic to question about Israel's policies in Gaza or those kind of things. I want to separate that out. There are legitimate political questions and foreign policy questions that members of an administration should be free to discuss. However, having said that, I do think there is an increasingly alarming move towards actual anti-Semitism, which is anger and hatred of the Jewish people and the Jewish state, and the tendency, because of that, to ascribe sinister motives. This idea that Israel is tricking the United States into doing its bidding. I see on social media people saying we're the puppet of Israel. This is insanity. Tucker Carlson and Candace Owen and some of these people, I don't know much about Joe Kent except when his name, kind of bubbled up over the last week or so. But there is that in the political side of the conservative movement, even in MAGA, the Make America Great Again movement, but also increasingly in the church, where people now again, you can. I have been texted by people who listen to the show, and they say, "Well, you guys are always talking about Israel and the Muslims in Gaza, for example. What about the Christians, the Christian Palestinians? You never talk about them." Those are legitimate questions to raise, but there is an alarming increase in actual anti-Semitism, and all these things are overlapping. It's hard to figure out who's who.
Mm-hmm. All right, let me just say, here's what these people believe. And by these people, I'm talking about your Tucker Carlson, Joe Kent, that fellow right there. Mm-hmm. He said it out loud.
Yeah.
I mean, were you quoting him, or do we have an audio?
I have both. I have his ex post, which I read from a moment ago, and I have some audio of Joe Kent talking to Tucker Carlson.
Okay, well, I want to comment on this belief that they have.
Okay.
But I do want to hear it from. So we're hearing Joe Kent, who until 2 days ago was
director of the National Counterterrorism Center.
Wow, it's a pretty big deal.
It is.
This guy's evidently very smart, very knowledgeable, and very capable, or he wouldn't be in that position. But he's resigned. And here's what he said to Tucker Carlson.
We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties.
That's not Joe Kent.
Okay.
I don't know what Joe Kent sounds like, but that's
Marco Rubio there.
So what happened right there? Whose error
sure.
was that? Was that Brent's yours or who? Who's the E on?
The team that puts the audio. I don't want to mention any names.
Oh, okay.
So,
well, anyway.
But it wasn't you, though, Chris. It was somebody else.
So forget that. Read it again. Read Joe Kent's quote.
Gotcha.
In his accent.
I'll post this. I don't know how he sounds. I'll post this on our Facebook page as well. He says, after much reflection, I have decided to resign from my position as director, effective today. I cannot, in good conscience, support the ongoing war in Iran. Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation, and it is clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby. It's been an honor serving under President Trump and D&I Gabbard and leading the professionals at NCTC. May God bless America.
I think that's nonsense. I really do. I think that's nonsense to suggest that the President of the United States is being influenced, is a puppet of Israel and the Israeli lobby in this country.
Right.
And here's the thing. Okay, that's my opinion.
I share it.
Everybody else on social media is allowed to have their opinion. So there are people saying, well, maybe you're a puppet of the Israelis. Okay, the whole world. When I say anti-Semitism, I'm saying there has been for thousands of years, okay, certainly 1,000 years in Europe, a slanderous approach to the Jewish people, that they are always doing sinister things to undermine Gentiles, Goyim, okay? And it's a slander because you don't have to have proof. Mm-hmm. Why in the world would you think that the president of the most powerful country in the world has a hook in his mouth and is being led around by Benjamin Netanyahu? That makes no sense.
Especially Trump.
He doesn't get led around by anybody.
No, he marches to his... What is the old saying?
His own drum. Beat of his own drum.
Beat of his own drum, yeah. So Trump, listen, the United States and Israel have been great friends since the inception of the State of Israel and has enjoyed bipartisan support. Mm-hmm. And I guess those people like Joe Kent and Tucker Carlson would say, yeah, they've had great support because they bought off Republicans and Democrats. That's what they're probably going to tell you.
Without proof, they say that.
They
prove it.
They have and they do have a powerful lobby in Washington D.C. And guess what? They're not the only country that has a powerful lobby in Washington, D.C. to influence
or the only pressure group.
Okay. Or the only pressure group. So I don't buy that, just like you're saying, that these folks want us to buy the idea that Israel's, wagging the dog.
Yeah, tail wagging the dog.
Tail wagging the dog.
And let me say, I know, Chris, hang on just a second, Chris.
And then
I know
Fred's joined the show today. He wants to talk over there.
I also want to say, I think the reason we went to war with Israel is that Israel said, no, we're going.
Right.
Went to war with Iran.
We're going to war with Iran because we're tired of them trying to destroy us.
Right.
We can't let them get nuclear weapons. Right. Out of respect for you, President Trump, we're letting you know.
That's right.
And President Trump said, we share the same goals.
Right.
We'll do it with you.
Mm-hmm. I think that's what happened at that meeting behind closed doors 3 weeks ago, Fred. Don't you think so?
Yeah.
For those who don't remember, President Benjamin Netanyahu, the leader of Israel, went to Washington, D.C. It was an unusual situation, not that it's unusual for the leader of Israel to go to Washington, D.C., but he flew there to talk to President Trump in person, sort of, quote, behind closed doors, and it was a 3-hour meeting or more, and then Benjamin Netanyahu left without answering questions. There wasn't a joint press conference or anything of that nature. Correct me if I'm wrong if I remember this. Okay.
Right. Yep.
And so he went back to Israel. So I think I'm just speculating now, but I think that was a meeting that you're talking about, Ed, which led to President Netanyahu showing President Trump maybe all this evidence, or saying, listen, we can't wait. And if you're our best ally, United States, and we want you to be aware of this situation, and if you want to join us, fine. If you don't, I'm speaking like Benjamin Netanyahu. We would greatly appreciate your support because they think this is in your interest, but we wanted you to know that we're going in. Fred, what do you think that's kind of the way that went down?
I believe that's the way it went down. I think Israeli intelligence had come to the conclusion that Iran was at the brink of having a nuclear weapon and that they couldn't wait any longer. So the meeting, Prime Minister Netanyahu, unscheduled meeting, goes to Washington, has that 3-hour meeting behind closed doors. I became suspicious because anytime, like today, the Japanese leader is meeting with President Trump, there'll likely be a news conference afterwards. This time there was no news conference. This time, and Benjamin Netanyahu kind of left through the back door at the White House.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure this out.
Right.
This was a planning meeting.
Right.
And at that point, and President Trump has said this in various news conferences, we came to the point we gave Iran all the time that we felt was necessary to come to us and say, hey, we're going to stop the development of this, of nuclear-grade weapons. And we're just going to stop this. We won't do it. We promise. And President Trump just figured out, no, they're lying. Because the negotiators, I think the two negotiators for the United States, came to the conclusion these guys are just leading us on.
Well, their counterparts from Iran told them. Now, that's what they said.
Yeah.
There are people probably like Joe Kent who don't believe our negotiators, but they have said publicly, we were told by the Iranians, we are, this close to getting, and we can make 16 weapons, nuclear weapons, and you can't stop us.
That's right.
Listen, too, here, when you're the president of the United States and you can go down through the history of our country, sometimes there are no good options left for you. And yet the weight of the world is on your shoulders. We can read a list of when these kinds of events have taken place down through our country's history, and they have happened where a president is left with a monumental decision. So here's the decision that President Trump was left with after the meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu and the dilemma facing him. If it's a dilemma, that's the right word. Okay, we know that Iran is led by mullahs and religious nut jobs that hate Israel and hate America, and they get up every morning, and that's what they say to the world: the little Satan, the great Satan. We know that that's their ideology. They've said that they want to kill us and destroy us. They're about to get a weapon that could potentially kill millions of people in one shot and change life forever with Israel or maybe New York City. Who knows? I'm just saying, how long do you wait when somebody says they want to do you harm, and they're about to get a weapon that could be catastrophic? And okay, so all right, then you're President Trump. You're going, well, Pete Hegseth and others come to him and say, we have the ability to stop them, sir.
Yeah.
Really? We do? I'm just role playing here. And yes, sir, we can execute a military operation that may take weeks, but we can stop them if that's what you want to do. So, and the Israelis are going to do everything they can. So at that point, the president of the United States says, no, I do want to stop them with our military. I know I'll get condemned by the left and many world leaders. Or he could have said, you know what? I'm willing to roll the dice.
Right.
I'm willing to Iran get a nuclear weapon and potentially use it, or at least use it as leverage against us and Israel and anybody else they want to, maybe Saudi Arabia. I'm willing to chance that. And if it happens and people say, why didn't you do anything to stop it? I'll just say, well, because I was afraid of the criticism of going to war with of Iran. That's so when I say you have no good choices so to speak. Nobody likes war. We're all paying attention to what's going on, hoping it's over quick. Let's get this over with and done with. No boots on the ground. No more Americans killed. We've already lost some lives. some of our great servicemen. But on the other hand, you have to look out for the dangers in the world of evil people who want to wipe you out. And if they get a weapon that can wipe you out, you better pay attention to what they're doing.
Listen, they could have said at any time they wanted, guess what we're doing? We're closing down the Strait of Hormuz. And then anybody who tries to reopen it, we will nuke them. Once they got nuclear weapons, you can't allow a country like that.
This guy says, excuse me for interrupting, this guy, go ahead and take the break. This fella says, Joe Kent says, and listen, he has more access to more knowledge and more information. He says they Iran posed no imminent threat to America. My question would be, what do you mean by imminent?
Right.
Use that. Are you talking about they're not going to attack us in the next week or 2 or 3? That word is
that's a slippery statement.
Yeah, Joe Kent needed to define that. And boy, Tucker Carlson, who I used to be a big fan of, and most of our listeners have when he was on Fox News, I don't know what's happened to him on Israel and the Jews. And he said that Christians who believe in what are the worst, that Zionism, Christian Zionists are the worst people on the earth. And then he later backtracked and apologized for that. But I don't know what's going on with him. We'll be back momentarily.
It's my turn.
Here is your host for My Turn, Don Wildmon.
Isn't it strange how the Father uses different media to speak to us? His most perfect revelation, of course, was His Son. And He speaks to us still through His written word. But this is not the only method He uses. He uses other means, such as a good book, a sermon, or a friend. He even uses the funny papers occasionally. He spoke to me recently through Peanuts. In that Peanuts column, Lucy was shown at her wayside stand with a sign reading, "Psychiatric help, 5 cents, the doctor is in." Well, old Charlie Brown comes along and says, "I'm in sad shape. What can you do when you don't fit in? What can you do when life seems to be passing you by?" To this, Lucy replies, "Follow me. I want to show you something. See the horizon over there? See how big it is? See how much room there is for everybody? Have you ever seen another world?" "No," says Charlie Brown. "As far as you know, this is the only world there is, right?" "Right," replies Charlie Brown. Lucy shouts, "Well, live in it then!" Whereupon Charlie Brown does one of his famous somersaults. Many of us are like Charlie Brown. We think we're in sad shape. We mope along with our fears and worries. We go in for self-pity. We look here and there for help without finding it. We think the world has given us a raw deal. We go around hunting only for the bad. We're in bad shape ourselves. We get to thinking that the faith of the Nazarene is dull and ordinary. Too many who bear his name are down at the mouth. Then along comes the divine psychiatrist. He takes us by the hand and shows us the wide and wonderful world in which we live, this mystery and wonder of life, this sparkling bit of time and space that is all ours for a brief moment of history. He tells us that we are the salt of the earth, the light of the world. He tells us there is a Father who knows us better than we know ourselves, a Maker that is closer than the air we breathe. He says that our Father loves us beyond our comprehension, even more than an earthly father loves his son. But he does more than this. He shames us for our timidity and our crankiness. He dissolves our guilt and restores our faith in God and ourselves. He himself is our key to abundant living. He shouts to us across the centuries to live in our world as though we were citizens of the eternities. It is He and He alone who puts meaning into our existence and purpose into our lives. He gives the ring of divine ordination to the most trivial of all occupations. Through His speaking, we hear Him saying that He came that we could find life, abundant life. Great is the number seeking for that abundant life. It's a pity that they think it can be found in rings and things. If we're in sad shape, we might not need to turn Charlie Brown's somersault, but we might need to take another look at our world and our God and ourself. Who knows? We might just want to turn that somersault with old Charlie Brown after taking that look.
This has been My Turn with Don Wildmon, a production of the American Family Association.
Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. According to his great mercy, he has caused us to be born again to a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead. 1 Peter 1:3.
American Family Radio. This is today's issues. Email your comments to comments@afr.net. Past broadcasts of today's issues are available for listening and viewing in the archive at afr.net. Now, back to more of today's issues.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to today's issues on the American Family Radio Network. Thanks for listening to AFR, and I'm Tim with Ed, Fred, and Chris. And now joining us is our colleague and good friend, Dr. Alex McFarland, co-host of Exploring the Word with Brother Bert Harper each afternoon right here on this network, American Family Radio, 305 to 4 o'clock Central Time. That's each afternoon, Monday through Friday on American Family Radio. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning, everybody.
Are you at home in North Carolina?
North Carolina, where spring is going to come eventually.
Hey,
we hope.
Well, I think you normally get the weather we get a day later. And let me just tell you, buddy,
it's coming.
Good things are going to happen.
Amen.
Okay, because it's sunny and 61 right now in Tupelo. Where do you live? What town do you live?
I live near Greensboro. It's really Pleasant Garden. And this morning it is a little warmer. I'm going to tell you, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it was wicked cold.
I know. Saw that. But you're about to hit we're all about to hit springtime. Now, Ed doesn't like to jump straight to summer.
I don't. I want some nice, pleasant spring weather. I usually don't get it.
You stay indoors on Sunday then. Because I'm going to tell you something.
Mm-hmm. Sunday, 85. Oh, come on. That's just not right.
87.
Maybe
I got 87. Me. Go ahead.
I grew up on a farm. I love hot weather.
I'm with you, brother. I don't care. But 87's fine with me. But yeah, 87 Sunday, where we live.
Well,
here.
It's not all about you guys.
You're right. You're right. We can't all live in Hawaii weather, can we? 75 every day. Although they've been getting slammed with a lot of flooding and rain and everything. So
there's no perfect place.
No, that'll
except in my recliner.
That'll preach. Bada boom. Bada boom. What are you and Bert going to talk about this afternoon? What part of the Bible are y'all on?
We are doing the second half of Ephesians 4. We spent a couple of months doing Isaiah, and Ephesians is a fairly short book. And then, so we're wrapping up Ephesians, and then tomorrow, every Friday we call it Fire Away Friday. We take all questions, all the hour, and just such a blessing on Exploring the Word. We've had people come to Christ on live radio many times, but I just got a letter about 2 days ago, a handwritten letter from a man. I read it on the air, and he said he was in a dark place, and he said he never listens to the radio, but just randomly he turned on the radio one day. He said he was very down. He didn't explain what was going on, but he said it was just the darkest, lowest point of his life. And he listened to Exploring the Word for about 3 consecutive days, and he understood the gospel, and he gave his life to Christ.
Amen. Wow.
Praise the Lord.
Amen.
This is why we do what we do.
Amen.
Amen. So you're in Ephesians, okay?
Yes, sir.
There's Brother Bert walking down the hall right there. So you're in Ephesians. Let me ask you this, Alex. We were talking about Israel, and you and I are supposed to have been over there last week.
Exactly.
With our tour group, we were supposed to go to Israel, but it's been postponed. till this fall.
Well, because Israel dragged America into a war. That's why.
Okay, Tucker.
According to Joe Kent.
Yeah, and Joe Kent and Tucker Carlson. So I want to ask you, Alex, our relationship, there's two things at play here to me in terms of our relationship with Israel and the Jewish people. At play, maybe that's not the right way to phrase it, but going on here, there's the historic relationship between the United States and Israel dating back to the beginning of the state of Israel, right?
That's true. 12 minutes into the revived state of Israel, President Harry Truman to the world stage announced that the United States recognizes the sovereign nation of Israel.
Okay, so, and that's been our policy ever since.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
And people may wonder, well, what was Israel before it became the modern country, a explicitly Jewish state? It was under the control of Ed, you can jump in here too. You know a lot about the history of that region. But Alex, if you know.
Yeah, we'll let Alex do it.
Well, it was called Mandatory Palestine. And
wait, hold on. I'm writing this down. It was called what?
It was called Mandatory Palestine. I mean, for centuries, it had been, in essence, a wasteland, and there had been, Islam started in 610 A.D. So, by the way, I'm greeting you all from the Islamic Republic of North Carolina. Our Democrat Governor, Josh Stein, yesterday issued an official proclamation that North Carolina recognizes and celebrates Ramadan.
What?
Yes, you heard me. And I don't mean to get us off topic, Brother Tim, but
no, the influence of Islam in America is growing.
I'm telling you, folks.
But go ahead, go back to. Let's don't get off subject just yet here.
Yeah,
but we're talking about because a lot of people wonder, well, they're fighting over there about land. Who controlled the land before Israel became a country in 1948? Go ahead.
Well, for 400 years, the Ottoman Empire. Really, from 1517 to 1917, the Ottoman Empire.
Would that be the Turks?
Yeah, the Turks. That's right, and they were Islamic.
Okay.
But really, beginning around 1922, sometimes it was called Transjordan, sometimes it was just called Palestine, but it was under British rule.
British mandate, right?
It was.
So the Brits controlled it after the Turks.
They did.
Because the Ottoman Empire was part of the alliance that opposed the West in World War I. They were on the losing side.
Okay.
That's right.
And so they lost control over that area as a result of losing.
Okay. So go ahead.
But what was so interesting, in World War I, there was a Jewish chemist named Chaim Weizmann, and he was knighted for helping, and here's the amazing thing, he helped synthesize acetone whereby Britain could make ammunition, and he prayed about it. And Churchill wanted to knight him, and David Ben-Gurion, for whom the airport is named, and Chaim Weizmann, Theodore Herzog, they went to Churchill and they said, help us reestablish the nation of Israel. Churchill said, we have 5 million acres in Uganda, and we're going to call it the New Jerusalem. And Ben-Gurion and Chaim Weizmann said, no, if you are grateful for the Jews, help us reestablish the nation of Israel in our ancestral homeland, the actual nation of Israel. And they did. And it was really, honestly, guys, as I'm sure you all know, it was a miracle of God. May 14, 1948, the Star of David was raised on a flagpole. And 1,900 years of history were changed as Israel was reborn. A nation was born in a day.
So it was Britain who controlled the land at the time it was given to the Jews to form the nation of Israel.
Correct.
Okay, so it was there. So it was illegal. I didn't say illegal. It was a legal operation. This was blessed and endorsed by the United Nations, which may have been the League of Nations at the time. I'm not sure, or maybe it was the.
It was the United Nations.
By then?
Yeah.
In 1948?
The League of Nations collapsed soon after World War I think.
Okay. So it was, and there were some people living on the land who were Arabs, they call the Palestinians, who didn't, they would have said it's our land, right? Is that where some of this started?
Yeah, and what's interesting, prior to Truman, there had been talk about a Jewish national home in Palestine. President FDR, in 1945, had promised the Muslims in the region that the U.S. would not stand with. This is an interesting thing. Democrat anti-Semitism and opposition to Israel is nothing new. And let me just say, between Teddy and FDR, there's a universe of difference. Just because Theodore Roosevelt, who was a devout Christian, and FDR share the same last name, please do not confuse the two. But FDR had promised the Arab Muslims in that region that the U.S. would not support the rebirth of Israel. But thank the Lord for Harry Truman, a Democrat. Kudos where they're due. Harry Truman, although it did take a little bit of prodding from Churchill, but eventually Harry Truman did come around, and he said, if they reestablish, we'll support. And as I said, it really is, I'm very proud as an American that 12 minutes into the existence of the modern Jewish state, Truman recognized it.
But by the way, I misspoke. I apologize. The League of Nations was founded after World War I. It ended as a result of the World War II conflict.
But then was
the United Nations
came later.
Yeah, I think in 46 or something.
Yeah,
so anyway, I don't know what I was thinking.
Well, me neither.
I wasn't.
Huh?
I wasn't thinking.
That's all right. It happens. Happens to people sometimes. You're listening to today's issues on the American Family Radio Network. You know, one of the wonderful things about the modern state of Israel, and I've been there many times, and you guys, some of you guys have been. Have you been yet? You've been yet too, haven't you?
To Israel?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Is that Israel does a great job of protecting the holy sites of Christianity, primarily, and which allows pilgrims from around the world to visit their country and see the sites that they read about in the Bible and visit the land of the Bible. I think tourism is probably the second largest industry in Israel behind technology. They're very industrious when it comes to technology, are the Israelis / Jewish people there. But they always, even though, and we work, when we go, we work with the Arabs and Jews, you know, because for the most part, the Arabs and the Jews live peacefully in Israel. Now, when they don't, it gets a lot of news. You know what I'm saying? But if you were to, I remember reading a survey about 3 or 4 years ago of Arabs living in the Jewish state of Israel, where they are a minority, like 80-20, but they said, would you rather live in Israel or live in a Muslim nation?
Yeah.
And they said, no, we'd rather live in Israel. You remember this survey?
I do.
Yeah.
Looking it up for you.
Can I ask a question to Dr. McFarland? Alex, this goes along with what we've been talking about, but I increasingly hear people say, I don't know whether Joe Kent said this, but others are saying this. The argument is made that the current nation of Israel either is not related to the 12 tribes of Israel, or you can't prove that it is, so they do not have, I guess, access to the promise of God to Abraham. How would you explain?
Thanks for opening up that can of worms. There's no reason for us to stay around. You and Alex can go.
No,
it's a good question. I'm teasing.
Yeah,
I'm
Alex,
teasing.
What is a biblical response to that? Because you could say that about Jews anywhere.
Yeah.
What would you say?
About a year ago, I was on NPR radio with someone from the National Jewish Federation, and kind of have a friendship going. In fact, I'm going to be in Washington. It's really kind of a little bit under the radar, but in the next couple of months, there will be a meeting in Washington of the evangelicals and Jews together in alliance to speak against anti-Semitism. And I feel very privileged that the National Jewish Federation has invited me to participate in this meeting to speak against anti-Semitism. But anyway, here's my point. Every Jew on the planet right now is descended from either Rachel, Leah, Sarah, or Rebecca. 4 females, and even before Ancestry.com and things like that, I mean, the Jews, there's probably no ethnicity in history that's been as meticulous as the Jews when it comes to documenting their family lineages. And in fact, they have impeccably accurate records of family lineage going back to the time of Esther. So we're talking, 486 BC. So here's my point, and rest his soul, Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk was a friend of mine, and I knew Charlie Kirk. I spoke for him at his events. He spoke for me. 2 weeks before he was shot, he spoke, and Charlie and I were in front of 3,000 people from 17 states. It was, I do a thing called Conversations That Matter. Charlie and I were backstage, and I had on an Israel pin. And I mean, I love Charlie. He was a dear, dear brother. But he said to me, Alex, why do you wear an Israel pin? And I said, because I stand for Israel. And we got into a discussion, and much to my surprise, he was a very vocal proponent for something called replacement theology. And I said, Charlie, brother, now keep in mind, we're 5 minutes from stepping out in front of 3,000 people.
That's a real can of worms. Not what Ed did.
And
go ahead.
Now, to his credit, the day before he got shot, he texted me, and he said, you make really good points about Israel. He said, I am teachable. Please help me out with some talking points on Israel. That was the day before he got shot. But here's what I said. I said, Charlie, if the Jews in the land of Israel aren't the descendants of the biblical Jews, then pray tell who is? Because and I shared a lot of what I've learned from working with the National Jewish Federation. And here's my point. Absolutely, unequivocally, the Jewish people are the genealogical and frankly spiritual descendants of biblical Jews. And this is documentable back to the time of Esther and even before. So every Jew on the planet is genealogically related to Rachel, Leah, Sarah, or Rebecca.
Let me ask you this. Is that a period there? Are you through with that thought?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you see my point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. By the way, you're listening to the radio program Today's Issues. That's Dr. Alex McFarland. He's joining us from the Tar Heel State today. And we are in Mississippi, the 4 of us here on the show, Today's Issues. You're listening to American Family Radio. Yeah, you Christians will, like Charlie Kirk and you having that conversation before. Hear me out before you judge me, okay?
Okay.
Don't judge me.
All right. I will withhold judgment.
Can I share my heart?
Yes.
Can I share my heart?
Please do.
I always like to use that expression because that means you're about to hear what I say and you can't say anything back to me. You can't argue with me because I'm only sharing my heart.
You're only sharing your heart.
I just know when I hear a Christian brother or sister say that, I know get ready for.
You're only asking questions.
You're right. I'm just sharing my heart. All right. So here's the deal. To borrow from J.J. Jasper. Seems to me, I'm a simple man, reading the Bible in the New Testament and the story of the Jews all through they're the Jews, they're the Israelites, they're the Hebrews, they're the Israelites, they're the chosen people, whatever you want to call them. Going on, that's the whole Old Testament,
right?
The story of the Jews.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I don't know when they started being called the Jews, but the Hebrews. So what happens when we get to the New Testament is God himself decides, and maybe people say he decided that since the beginning of time. Okay, I'm just saying God changes from just a relationship with the Jews and opens up a relationship with all mankind, including which includes the Gentiles, which is everybody else but the Jews, right? So through Jesus Christ,
right?
But that doesn't, and there are verses in the New Testament which, how would you say? I wouldn't say seem to indicate, but could be interpreted, I guess, by some people as quote replacement theology. Am I? Is it?
Well, if you interpret those verses in isolation from
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
You could do. People do that,
and I think that's part of the.
So I would just say
the confusion.
I would just say, and Alex to comment on this. Fred studied this forever. The opening up of God's relationship with Gentiles doesn't negate his historic relationship and covenant with the Jewish people in Israel. Fred, how about what I've just said there? Is that
absolutely right? And the Apostle Paul in Romans chapter 11.
And he did his share of scolding the Jews.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Right.
But Romans chapter 11, Paul, under the inspiration of the Holy Spirit,
right?
I'm paraphrasing here, said, "Hey, you Gentiles, don't get too arrogant about this."
Right.
Amen.
I'm paraphrasing. Don't you get too arrogant about this, because salvation came through the Jews by way of Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ came into the world as a Jew.
So were all the apostles.
Yes. So don't get arrogant. God is not through with his people. And then you can jump to Revelation, and they're going to have 144,000 witnesses. During the tribulation period, 12,000 from each tribe. All right?
The tribes of Israel.
Of Israel.
Yeah.
So for anybody to say, God's done with the Jewish people,
right?
I'm sorry. The Bible disagrees with you.
Okay.
Not just people gathered around this table and Alex. The Bible disagrees with you.
Right. Alex, is that basically a teaching, what Fred's just described, within the evangelical church?
The teaching of replacement theology?
No, of what Fred's just described, the understanding of
Romans 11.
Romans 11.
Evangelicals teach it, but I would say it's Christendom. It's true biblical exegesis that the covenant with Abraham is an everlasting covenant. I mean, just by definition, everlasting means it doesn't have a termination. And so the one verse, people use Galatians 6:16 that says, blessed be, quote, the Israel of God. But we Gentiles were grafted into the new covenant by believing in Messiah. But and I'll tell you this, guys, I really think had John Calvin and some of the reformers lived to May 15, 1948, replacement theology would have never existed. It was cobbled together to try to account for why there was no nation of Israel during the time of the Reformation.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Calvin and who else? Luther. He was anti-Semitic, wasn't he?
At the end of his life, sadly, very sadly.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen. Thank you so much. Yeah, great discussion. Thank you so much, Alex. We look forward to hearing you and Bert this afternoon on Exploring the Word. And you have a wonderful weather day there. And what's the name of your town? Pleasant what?
Pleasant Garden.
How can you have a bad day?
What a great
How
name.
can you have a bad day in Pleasant Garden, North Carolina? Hey, there's Andy and Opie. Yeah. Walking down, they're going fishing. Andy and Opie going fishing. All right, thank you, Alex. See you. Bye-bye. All right, we'll be back with Steve Paisley Jordahl in 5 minutes. Thank you.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
Faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio.
Getting married, starting a family, their eternal values and ideals. These are core values that shaped this country for so long. These are values and ideals that are rooted in Scripture. They're eternal values and ideals.
At the Core with Walker Wildmon and Rick Green, where culture meets biblical truth. Weekdays at 1 Central on AFR.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
For American Family News, I'm Chris Woodward. We will finish this. That's what War Secretary Pete Hegseth is saying about Operation Epic Fury. Hegseth said that's not only a promise to the families of fallen soldiers, but also young Americans like his 13-year-old son.
My 13-year-old son popped into my office last night while I was editing these remarks. He asked about the war and the families I met at Dover. And I looked at him and I said, "They died for you, son, so that your generation doesn't have to deal with a nuclear Iran." It's the truth. And they did. So to the families who said, "Finish this," we will. And I say the same to every American who wants peace through strength. May Almighty God continue to bless our troops in this fight. And again, to the American people, please pray for them. Every day, on bended knee, with your family, in your schools, in your churches, in the name of Jesus Christ. To the troops, keep going, and Godspeed.
Israel is under alert as Iran is retaliating for airstrikes. As Fox's Trey Yingst reports, holy sites are closed.
Earlier this week, there was a large piece of Iranian shrapnel that landed near the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Right now, all of the holy sites across Jerusalem remain closed. These are the Homefront Command guidelines to ensure that the population is safe. Here's what a police spokesperson had to say about the situation.
The decision to close holy sites, issued in accordance with the directives of the Homefront Command, has proven to be a life-saving measure.
More coverage next hour. You can also find information on our website, afn.net. A federal judge has ruled that the Trump administration's attempt to shut down the Voice of America was an overreach and illegal. District Judge Royce Lamberth ordered more than 1,000 VOA employees back to work by March 23rd. Tim Graham of Media Research Center says Voice of America once rendered a patriotic service to the country, but no more.
The liberal media have been so insistent on how wonderful the VOA is. It makes me say, I don't listen to the VOA. We don't listen to it here inside the United States. But it's got to sound just like NPR for them to be this upset. Back in the day when the Voice of America was new, a lot of it was designed to go into dictatorships and especially communist dictatorships. It would have been perceived as a Cold Warrior sort of program. And I'm quite confident at this point that under a succession of Democratic presidents that they are not, broadcasting brave anti-communist material. That's not what they do.
Completely shuttering Voice of America would have taken an act of Congress, but President Trump issued an executive order shortly after the start of his second term meant to reduce government bureaucracy that effectively gutted VOA and 4 other international broadcasting networks. The first woman to sit on the U.S. Supreme Court will be honored today in Washington, D.C. Fox's Tanya J. Powers.
The late Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day O'Connor will be honored with a meeting of the Supreme Court's bar, followed by a special session of the court. The event will feature remarks from several judges, 5 of whom clerked for Justice O'Connor. Appointed by President Ronald Reagan and unanimously confirmed by the Senate, she made history in 1981 when she was sworn in to the Supreme Court by then Chief Justice Warren Burger, becoming the first woman to serve on the court in its 191-year history. She served until her retirement in 2006 and founded the O'Connor Institute to advance American democracy 3 years later. O'Connor died in 2023 at age 93.
In final news, updated recommendations from leading heart groups say statins could be considered as early as age 30. If you have questions, consult your doctor. That'll do it for now. Visit afn.net for more information. That's afn.net. When you're there, be sure to subscribe to our free daily email news briefs. You can also like us on Facebook and follow us on X. I'm Chris Woodward. Thank you for listening.
Every day, AFA offers biblical insight on issues that others aren't willing to touch in the hopes that you'll become a world changer. That's why we're offering an in-depth worldview training course called Activate. 13 different professors teaching 18 sessions, all available online, including a printed workbook to help you apply what you've learned and 1-year access to AFA streaming content to give you even more resources. Find out more about Activate and sign up today at activate.afa.net.
Today's Issues continues on AFR with your host, Tim Wildmon, president of the American Family Association.
Okay, welcome back, everybody, to Today's Issues on American Family Radio. Today's Issues is the name of this show. We're here every Monday through Friday. Tomorrow's trivia, so we'll have a good time and bring the learning.
Oh, we're bringing it.
It says we're bringing the learning
We're
tomorrow.
bringing it.
So get ready, people. The rocket of education is about to lift off.
That's right.
Tomorrow.
You want to get on board the Elon Musk Express.
All right, so before we have Steve Paisley Jordan joins us, which he's in studio, but I wanted Chris Woodward, he looked up the story I was referencing last half hour about a survey of Arabs who live in the Jewish state of Israel. Go ahead, Chris.
This is from a 2008 story by
that
Reuters.
old. Okay.
And it says 77% of the state of Israel's Arab citizens would rather live in the Jewish state than in any other country in the world, according to a study titled Coexistence in Israel. The survey was conducted by the John Kennedy School of Government at Harvard University with the assistance of researchers at Haifa University. The study was aimed at examining the relations between Israel's Jewish and Arab citizens on the state's 60th anniversary and included 1,721 respondents.
Yeah, so which basically was my point that the majority of the what percentage would you quote? Said they enjoy living in
77%.
Okay, so there you go. So I was going to say vast majority. I think that's a vast majority of Arabs who live in the Jewish state of Israel. They would rather live there than live under a Muslim country.
In fact, they'd rather live there than anywhere else.
Anywhere else. So that is their homeland. And Arabs have a place in the Israeli Knesset, which is like our United States House of Representatives. They do have some
elected.
They're elected. They have some votes. They serve in the military.
Yes.
So it's not all hatred one for another between the Arabs and the Jews in Israel. For the most part, they get along. It's just when they don't, it's magnified because of where it is. And it's magnified because it is really and truly because, you know what, everybody in the world knows that's the land of the Bible. We don't pay so much close attention to every place in the world because oftentimes it's, out of mind, out of sight, out of mind, I guess I should say. But this is a place which has extraordinary religious implications for the Muslims too. I mean, because of the Dome of the Rock and then the Israelis because of their historic homeland, the Temple Mount, other Jewish sites, as I mentioned, the Christian holy sites that are there, that Israel does a wonderful job of protecting. So it's just, but it's not all hatred one for another over there. A lot of the Israelis, they both Arab and Jews, they speak both Arabic and Hebrew and English. They're very so anyway. As the Bible says, pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And all right, Steve. Good morning, Steve.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
So on our Facebook page is the survey that we're citing, which goes back to 2000. What did he say?
8, I think he said.
2008.
All right, go ahead, Steve.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
So we're going to start with this. Reality is a hard taskmaster, and you really can't fight against it for too long. And they're figuring this out in New York. Because
New York City?
New York City.
Yeah.
The governor of New York is wanting to put a whole bunch of gifts in the stocking of New Yorkers. She wants to pay for free this and that. She's a Democrat that spends money.
What's her name?
Kathy Hochul.
Kathy
is her name. And she is wanting to provide all this stuff, but she's running up against reality, which says there's not enough money to pay for everything she wants to do. So she's asking for some help. She's talking to people who used to live in New York, maybe some millionaires who used to live in New York. I wanted to let you listen to this. This is Kathy Hochul, cut 11.
I need people who are high net worth to support the generous social programs that we want to have in our state. Right? Now, there are some patriotic millionaires who've stepped up. Okay, cut me the checks. I mean, just if you want to be supportive, but maybe the first step should be go down to Palm Beach and see who you can bring back home, because our tax base has been eroded. So I philosophically don't have a problem. It is like I have to look at the fact that we are in competition with other states who have less of a tax burden on their corporations and their individuals. And I would say remote work changed everything. There were people who could only work in an office in Manhattan or work in New York State, and they were captives to our state. They were going to stay. We've saw that that's not the case. I mean, Wall Street businesses looking at Texas, they're not going there because they have a nicer governor. I know that for sure. But they're going there because of the tax rate.
That's just an eye roll moment.
It gets better.
It does?
It does. It gets better. Because back in 2022, Kathy Hochul was campaigning for Pat Ryan, who was running for Congress and won the race. And she had a message for rich Republicans like Donald Trump, cut 14.
And we're here to say that the era of Trump and Zeldin and Molinaro, just jump on a bus and head down to Florida where you belong, okay? Get out of town. Get out of town. Because you don't represent our values. You are not New Yorkers.
Wow. That didn't age well.
Well, one more ingredient. Kathy Hochul endorsed the communist to be mayor of New York City.
That is true, Fred.
And Mom Donnie told everybody during the election campaign what he was going to do. Yeah. He was going to nationalize grocery stores.
Yeah.
Come on in. He's going to take over buildings, apartment buildings, and all that sort of thing, which led to the exodus. Now she says we're going to go down there to Florida and tell them these rich people to come back so we can tax them more.
They're not patriotic.
Listen, there's just no accounting for that level. I don't want to be insulting. I don't want to sin.
Go ahead.
I don't want to sin.
Go ahead.
But that kind of that's stupidity. I mean, you do not understand human nature. If you first insult people who disagree with your politics, tell them to leave, and then try to appeal to them to come back up here, like you said, Fred, so we can tax you more, so we can spend even more money. How do you not understand human nature? These people aren't going to come back. And to your point, to support the campaign of a communist who is fine with first of all, telling the owners of rental property, we're going to make it so that you cannot raise rents, even if everything else is going up.
We're going to control the market.
We're going to control the market. We're going to put you out of business, and then the government's going to buy your building. And then we are going to start government-owned grocery stores so we can put out of business the actual companies that run grocery stores. And then you wonder why your tax base is drying up.
And the gall of Kathy Hochul to frame this as being patriotic. Mm-hmm. You have a patriotic duty to support communism. I mean,
my goodness.
Basically, that's what she's saying.
Baby, come back. Any kind of fool could see I was wrong. I cannot live without you.
or your money.
That's 1976.
Sorry, if I'm going to be doing a story for American Family News on this, I might use that song. I think that's great.
Well, and let me tell you, we said when when it looked like Mamdani was going to get elected, and then of course he was, we basically said, Tim, I think you might have said when we were talking about popcorn, we're all going to get our popcorn and we're going to watch what happens to New York City.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't quite thinking about New York State, although New York State relies heavily on tax dollars from New York City.
Yeah.
But this has happened quickly.
Yes.
I mean, you have the governor of New York begging rich people to come back because they are running out of money.
You're going to have to use a better lure than that.
It's
right
March.
Come
it's
back.
March.
We want to.
Mamdani took over in January.
I want to see Sean Hannity react to this.
Yeah.
He's one of those that moved down to Florida.
Yeah.
All right. I want to see Sean Hannity say, "Hi, Kathy."
Man,
not coming back.
All right, next story.
This is going to be brutal, but we all said this is kind of the petri dish for the country, and not just New York City. It's Seattle and Los Angeles, some other places, but New York City especially is going to be the experiment that we're all going to watch, and we are going to see what communism does.
Hey,
and I didn't believe it would happen this quickly.
Just FYI here, President Trump is meeting today, in fact, right now, with the Japanese Prime Minister. I did not realize it was a lady.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How long has she been in charge over there?
I don't know when she.
There was an election within the last year.
Okay. Anyway, she's at the White House right now meeting with President Trump.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, President Trump said he expects Japan to step up. What does that mean? You're talking about the state of...
Keeping the Strait of Hormuz open.
Okay.
I think Japan gets quite a good chunk of its oil and gas from the Persian Gulf.
It comes through that strait.
But I thought after World War II, we made it where Japan couldn't have a military.
Well,
that was their own constitution.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
After the atomic bomb, they did take a very non-militaristic thing. But I think it's probably not for nothing that they started World War II. Japan, anyway, got into for oil because they were running. That's why they invaded China before in the 30s. So Japan is oil dependent. They don't have a lot of their own.
They don't have it on their island.
So they do have a military.
They did change, I think, their constitution. So they have very rapidly modernized their military, especially their naval and air force. I don't know. I'm not an expert on these kind of things. I'm not sure they have what you call a blue water navy where they have ships that are capable of projecting naval power that far away. I don't know. But that's what President Trump is asking, because a lot of NATO countries already said, nah, we're not getting involved in this. And of course, as we might expect, that's irritated the president. And so Prime Minister Takachi, I'm not sure how you pronounce that. She's at least meeting with the president.
Okay, I thought I read 2 days ago where Iran said, whoever Iran is anymore, okay, I don't know who speaks for him anymore, because it's whack-a-mole right now with them, and that is that they would not attack any merchant ships or oil tankers or maybe even military naval ships as long as they weren't Israeli or American. Did I read that wrong?
They're okay with oil tankers, ships, leaving to go to their best customers.
Okay, but then what's the deal? I mean, American Israel doesn't get oil through there anyway that I'm aware of. So
yeah.
Why do we care?
Well, President Trump doesn't have a problem with that.
Doesn't have a problem with what?
Doesn't have a problem with allowing those ships to come out and go to their destination.
Okay.
China, India, Pakistan, because he's worried about the worldwide price of oil. If you were to cut all of that off, that lowers the supply, which jacks up the price even more.
Right.
Okay, but you see my point. If Iran is saying we're going to let everybody through without harassment, on the Strait of Hormuz, then what's except for American and Israeli, and I say to you, well, American and Israeli ships aren't coming through there anyway. Then what's the problem? Does anybody have an answer for me?
If they can allow those ships through and yet somehow stop the payment so that Iran doesn't get money from these countries, I don't know. I'm just saying that would be one way, because you don't want to make the whole world angry at you because of their.
Well, I'll tell you another thing you got to be wary of too here, and I'm just thinking out loud here. I haven't thought through this completely. Okay, so excuse me if there's an error in logic. You don't want to starve the whole country of Iran. You'll get the people turn against you then. I don't want to see Iran in total darkness. I don't want to see Iran's people starving. I know there's a fine line there because you're trying to attack the regime. And the regime are the ones who usually have the goods, and then they take them from the people who are the average citizens who are helpless and defenseless. I understand that. But y'all see the fine line you walk there?
Mm-hmm. It's with the same issue in Cuba.
Yeah,
with the oil and with the
I don't know about starving those people or cutting them off of electricity. You think that's a good thing to do? Stop their oil from the people?
No,
you don't, or do?
No,
you don't like my question.
I hadn't had a chance.
I'm sorry.
No, you don't want to target the people, okay, with restrictions. But you want to put pressure on the government. Like in Cuba, for example, I think what you're wanting the people to see, and maybe even the military to see, is we have to have that oil. We cannot win a war against the United States. We need to change the government and get rid of the communists. So it is, to your point, it's a fine line. And I think this is why the United States did not want to see Israel attack the Iranian oil field, natural gas field, because we don't want to have to rebuild it anyway afterwards. And we want,
and that's not a military installation.
And it was not a military installation. So it gets really tricky. I'm glad I'm not in charge of it.
Yeah. All right. You're listening to Today's Issues on American Family Radio. What I'm saying, you want the Cuban people, you want the Iranian people with you,
right,
on your efforts to help them be free of tyranny, but you don't want to make them suffer so much that they turn against you. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Steve.
To your point, Tim, a lot of the people in Iran, we are finding out, they don't like the mullahs. They're not on the mullah side. Israel has an amazing intelligence operation. Mossad is just never been anything like it in the world. It's almost Trumpian in its best ever. But there's a story in the Wall Street Journal about it's gotten to the point where Israel is calling some of the next level leadership directly on their cell phones and threatening them, saying,
in
Iran, yeah. So I want you to listen. This is a Mossad agent calling, or it's just about a Mossad agent calling a police officer in Iran. Cut 12.
How thorough is the Israeli penetration of Iran's governmental networks? There's an incredible story from the Wall Street Journal today. Apparently, Israel is now calling IRGC leadership directly, like on their cell phones, and telling them to give up the fight if they would like to live. According to the Wall Street Journal, quote, the journal reviewed the contents of one call between a senior Iranian police commander and an agent of the Mossad, Israel's foreign intelligence service. Can you hear me? A Mossad agent can be heard speaking Farsi. We know everything about you. You are on a blacklist, and we have all the information about you. Okay, said the commander in the recording. I called to warn you in advance that you should stand with your people's side, said the Mossad agent. And if you do not do that, your destiny will be as your leader. Do you hear me? And the commander said, brother, I swear on the Quran, I'm not your enemy. I'm a dead man already. Just please come help us.
That's Ben Shapiro.
Ben Shapiro. Oh. That's incredible if that is true. And I have no doubt that it is true, because the Mossad has already proven. We've talked about the pager incident. You remember where
the Operation the beep?
Well, they had a Jewish. They had a shell
Grim
company.
Grim Beeper.
They had a shell company that was owned by Israelis selling pagers. Was this Hezbollah?
To Hezbollah.
To Hezbollah.
In northern.
And then they blew them up. They killed them. Okay, so they seemingly have this unbelievable capability to know what's going on, and I have very little doubt. You know what's kind of striking about this? If this is true, this Iranian military police chief or whatever, is he said, please come and help us, because they are between a rock and a hard place. Yeah. They can't rebel against the Republican Guard either, the Iranian Public Guard. They and their families will all be butchered.
Talking about the average soldier.
So I don't know how close that country is to a coup.
It's going to take a William Wallace type person to emerge.
And would probably result in a civil war until they can clear out all the IIRC.
But you might find that in a civil war that the Republican Guard, which is the military/police of Iran, which enforces the rule of the mullahs, might collapse if there was a legit rebellion emerge, because I'm guessing that a lot of these soldiers, again, /police, they have family members that are opposed to the mullahs, and they don't like having to persecute their own people, so to speak. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I think this is what the Trump administration and Israel probably are hoping for.
Yeah. All right, you're listening to today's issues on American Family Radio. Thanks for listening to AFR. I'm Tim with Ed and Fred. And no, Brother Ray Pritchard didn't quit. He'll be back.
He's preaching.
He'll be back 2 weeks. He's developed a real attitude problem, and so we had to tell him, come back when
you're ready to play nice.
When you calm down.
No, he's preaching the gospel.
Amen.
Preaching.
Amen. So we look forward to Brother Ray being back, and we ask you to pray for him. Keep Believing is the name of his ministry. All right, Steve, we got about 3 minutes or so. What do you got?
I thought you would enjoy this. There's a tradition at the Masters Golf Tournament that
coming up.
Yeah. That the person who wins the tournament the next year hosts all champions, people who have green jackets, to come, and he hosts them for dinner. And so this year, Rory McIlroy won the Masters in 2025, and he is planning this dinner, and he said he'd been thinking about it for a long time. But I brought the menu.
He's Irish.
He is Irish. He's sparing absolutely no expense in this dinner.
Oh, they have money.
Yeah, and he's footing the bill for it.
Don't worry about it. You're right when you say they're sparing no expense, because they don't even feel it.
So these are your choices. For an appetizer, you could have peach and ricotta flatbread with balsamic hot honey, basil, bacon-wrapped dates with American goat cheese.
That's wrong right there. Scratch that one. Bacon-wrapped dates? No. No, thank you. Go ahead.
Rock shrimp tempura with creamy spicy sauce.
I'll have one of those.
Grilled elk sliders. For the main course,
I'll try one.
You have a choice of Wagyu filet mignon or seared salmon. Traditional Irish champ, sautéed Brussels sprouts, glazed carrots with brown butter, crispy Vidalia onion rings.
What's that second thing you said? Irish what? Traditional Irish what?
Champ is what he wrote. CHAMP. I think it's a sauce.
Okay.
And then for dessert, you're going to have sticky toffee pudding, vanilla ice cream, and warm toffee sauce.
Most of that sounds appetizing to me.
I'm sure that's probably very, very good.
What about the elk? You ever had any elk, Fred?
I've never had elk.
No, I've had buffalo and a few things like that.
You ever had elk?
I've never had elk.
You?
I have.
What about it? You remember it?
I think, if I recall correctly, it's a little gamey. You've probably.
I don't think I've had elk before.
I think I've had elk.
We had one of these dinners at church I used to attend where
it's wild game.
Yeah, wild game.
Yeah,
dinner.
J.J. Jasper spoke at 27,000 of those.
Exactly.
Well, so
he's a wild game speaker.
I'm guessing that if a Southerner from the U.S. wins, then the next year it's, what is it, Chick-fil-A and Little Debbie?
Yeah.
Little Debbie snacks?
I don't know if Trump can sneak into the tournament. He can buy McDonald's for everybody.
You know, I personally have a problem with churches playing wild games. I just don't think that's right.
Whether they have supper or not.
Reindeer games are okay, but wild games, no. Huh?
I don't think that's I'll give you a tip, Ed.
Yeah.
Stay away from wild women. You don't have to worry about Ed, people. That was just a joke.
I don't.
Ed goes home to his recliner and watches hockey.
Tonight, 6 o'clock.
That's as risky as Ed gets.
God's hand has been upon this nation from the beginning.